Okay, so you went from seeing these changes in your thesis of like cushion footwear and especially kind of that high drop into a more definitely minimalist shoe with that vapor glove.
Yeah.
So then you went and worked for Altra, where you're going
Yep.
to have more, and at that time, Altra was only zero drop, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And it was that foot shape, but still with more stack height and kind of that range. And then we
Yep.
went full minimalist. So you've kind of seen that whole spectrum,
Yep. Yep.
but always in that foot shape.
Yep.
So how did you land where you did with Notice?
Yeah. So I think it's because the last decade, the sort of the shoe industry has become very polarized, right? Since sort of the boom of five fingers at the time to the boom of max cushion. I think we've seen kind of both extreme grow really fast, for good or bad, right? But you do have sort of the more minimalist barefoot crowd that believes in it and will live or die on it. And then you've got the other end of the spectrum where they think cushion is the best thing that's, ever been invented, right? And as those two worlds got really, really polarized, for me, I realized there's just kind of a gap in the middle. What if you just want something we would call normal 20 years ago, right? What about just enough cushion to do your activity, whether it's running or trail running or court sports? It's like, what about just shoes that are, it's a tool, right? Shoes are just a tool at the end of the day. And the goal of, to me, any good footwear brand is stay out of the way, don't mess up with the mechanics, and that's it. So, we did have that moment of like, do we need another shoe brand, right? It's just one more, like we don't need it unless we make a difference. And I think that was really the start of like, we can make a difference and we can, take from those both ends. It's like someone that is in barefoot shoes in general and wants a little more protection when they go trail running or when they go play tennis or when they go play pickleball, or someone that is sort of stuck in that other spectrum and like, oh, this is ridiculous, 4 inches of foam under my feet. I don't necessarily need that all the time. And we're not talking about go and do a PR with a carbon plated shoe. It's like just the everyday walk the dog, run 20 minutes, go play some sports. It's like, do you really need all of that? And that's where kind of the idea of Notice was born. It's like we want the best of both worlds. We do want the functionality of, what minimal and barefoot. It's always sadly stuck in it. As soon as you do that, I've realized more and more is as soon as you talk about foot shaped shoes or you talk about drop and zero drop, you get put in a category of that's barefoot shoes. It's like, well, not really. Obviously, Ultra has gone away from that, but they've gone further away from it, so they're not get assimilated with barefoot shoes. But as soon as you do low to the ground with those features, it's sort of like it's barefoot. It's like, well, no, it is a functionality that is associated with barefoot, which is great. So I want the functionality. I want the toes to splay. I want the big toe to be able to engage and be properly aligned. And I do want the shoe to flex. So we never want to cradle the foot. And we're talking about people that are not injured, right? We're like just regular consumer that have fairly happy feet and they want something different. Um, so it's binding that sort of have that functionality of what you would call minimal barefoot shoes, right? But also have the comfort of what you would call traditional shoes. Have just enough cushion that it will protect you for whatever your sport is. And this is where Notice comes in. It is, all of that. And then, well, a more personal thing is that in a package that looks good. I think that's really important. I like for shoes to be super clean and super good looking. But I think in terms of function, which, is for everybody listening, is this is where we fit in that spectrum of shoes.
Yeah. So you guys have three models right now.
Yep.
So what kind of stack height are we talking about?
Yeah, so for the two sort of running shoes, one is for more road, the other one is more for trail. They're both because they're low to the ground. We do combine kind of a gym aspect of it as well because you can have that stable platform. But both of these are at a 15 mm stack height.
Okay.
And then it does have a 3 mm insole. It's a textured insole to increase sensory feedback. So you can get a little bit lower if you want to or have more volume in the shoe. And that felt like a sweet spot where you put it on, you do feel kind of a softness to it and comfort,
Mhm.
but you're not really high elevation and it still flexes really, really well. And then the court shoe is a little bit thicker because of how people use it, where you dig the heel and you go side to side. The court shoe is at 19 millimeter. Yeah, that's
Oh,
it. And I've got another color, all
oh,
black.
there you go.
I know, right? And yeah, and this is just a different use case. Like it is a little bit stiffer than the other one because the shoe needs to be ready for really, really strong, heavy side to side movement. So it's pretty brutal to play racket sports in general. So we want to offer enough protection and cushion there.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that we always talk about, right? When it comes to athletic shoes that serve a specific purpose, right? It would be great to be able to play tennis and pickleball in a fully minimalist shoe, but is that
Yep.
realistic for everyone and is it necessary if let's say your everyday shoe is all day you're in a Vivo and you're on the court, it's okay if you spend some time in a shoe that has a little bit more cushion. And I think that's something that people have a really hard time accepting because kind of like you said, it's become this polarized thing. And
Yep.
even for me, I am by no means a professional court sport person, as you know, because you are my number one pickleball partner. But I'm competitive enough. I move on
Yeah.
the court, right? And
Yeah.
for a while, so I tried playing in my Tolos, I tried playing in my Vivos because I do live most days in minimalist footwear. And it just was a little bit too much for me, even still, just because of how hard you're impacting the court. And I just a personal plug, but I have to say, I have been playing. I was very fortunate that I got an early pair of it's the Kodo, right? Kodo one.
Yep.
So I got an
Yep.
early pair of the Kodo ones, and I loved them so much. They were actually a size too small, and I was still playing in them over my other shoes, even though I was jammed in there. But I had the right size, and I'm so happy. I just want to reiterate that, with athletic shoes, they do serve a purpose for that sport. And if you want to play them recreationally in, a minimalist shoe or something like that, that's great. But when you're really wanting to get competitive, we have certain needs that we have to hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the idea is I know some people can probably plain Vivos, plain Zeros, plain like very minimal barefoot shoes. They can play tennis, they can play. But the reality is for most people, it's just not quite enough. I tried actually to, even for this shoe, as we were testing it and have different samples, different stack heights, I wanted it to be lower because it's great to be as low as you can because it does increase stability. And the reality is just wasn't enough. And it takes just one step where you're not talking about doing something where you think about your gait and you think about how you're gonna put your foot somewhere. It's like it's a sport. You go after the ball, and you don't think about how you step. You just step. And if you happen to step one time wrong, one, you're going to hurt yourself, which that's not the goal. You always want to be protected for the sport. And two, then you don't trust it anymore and you don't enjoy it anymore. So that really is the goal, is provide just enough. And, for people that want more, want less, they can. But obviously we do want to really, it's starting from the ground up of this shoe is made for that. And that's the reason why it is where it is.
Yeah. There's a quote from Robert Lardner, who's an instructor for DNS, and he's talking about core, like your core and bracing your core. And he says you need to brace your core as much as necessary, but as little as possible. And whenever we're teaching that quote in our FGA course, I always say, and for the record, that's also my policy on shoes, right? We
Yeah.
need to support the foot as much as necessary, but as little as possible. And that's pretty much exactly what you just said, as far as just enough cushion to protect you and keep you playing and get the job done, but as little as possible to keep you close to the ground. And that's
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
exciting.